had no trouble reviewing these lineups because I found it to be very entertaining to actually review these lineups and very difficult to build them, but in a fun kind of like Lego building adventure because there's only so much you can get right, which means every decision you make is so important, which means like the slightest variance or non-variance can alter a lineup. Like me and Gov, before the rest of the guys joined tonight, we're talking about like defense was separated by like 8 points. So it really was a just like who you could get around, whatever defense fit for whatever else you were trying to get around. But I will say there was a couple major injuries, Debo being one of them. Outside of that, though, we didn't see like any major offsetting injuries. There was a couple nicks and guys missing some time, but I felt like we pretty much got what we thought. And if you were right about some of your long shots, you were able to profit quite a bit. What was your guys' kind of overview of the weekend? Your thoughts? Where we got lucky, where we got unlucky? The things you enjoyed.
In personals, Saturday's Debo injury killed everything I had initially, which pivoted me on to making a Sunday only, and then I broke even. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't ever like condone chasing your losses, but sometimes you can. Like if you know what you're doing, like I was playing both slates anyway, so.
Yeah, it was like I was already 50-50
at worst,
about it, and then I was like,
the showdown.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Yeah.
The way my professional gambling community that I follow put it was, you don't want to chase your losses, but if you are already around the booth and you happen to see that the totals are still low on the catches, like we lost Debo and I was still able to get Kittle and I got Kittle and Jennings, I think, over because they hadn't adjusted the number yet. So there's a difference between like, I think they're going to catch passes, but the number's already been adjusted, and where you can catch a sports book. And there's like maybe a 30-second, 40-second window there, and you got to be able to hit it.
Also, I do want to say there's a slight difference between chasing my losses and chasing the fact that there's a single entry dollar, and I get a single entry dollar. It wasn't really chasing. It was just I used an extra dollar.
$1 is $1 bankroll management.
Well, that's what I was going to say. As long as it's within your bankroll management, like this is not another week where we did not win on any of our lineups, but I was still able to pull almost a 3x profit based on the prop. So it's just one of those things where I always tell you guys to diversify your portfolio, and that's exactly what we're talking about. When Debo goes out, things like Kittle is going to get more usage. The ball is going to go somewhere. So I'm not saying to chase it. I'm saying to be smart. And like, if you see numbers you like, or we mentioned a couple weeks ago, Sam Laporta, his receiving yards that week he was really banged up was still at 42. Now that doesn't mean bet your whole bankroll management on it because you got to be smart. You don't want to bet more than you can lose, but at some point you got to be like, hey, this is a smart wager based on the information. And when that information changes quick, I think that's the biggest advantage you have over Vegas. Personally. I think you muted, Donnie.
You're right. I was already heavy Sunday. I had already put, my faith in the Sunday teams and the Sunday games, and that's what I was looking at anyways. Mm-hmm. So when, the one thing that happened Saturday killed me, I was like, why not?
Gov, what's the one, maybe you always had it, because I feel like I've kind of always naturally just been a nit. So, like, I never really had to teach myself bankroll management because, like, my whole life has been bankroll management. I almost have to teach myself to be more risky. But, like, have you had to teach yourself bankroll management? Like, what's the one thing, like, that you're really proud of as an experienced or a seasoned DFS player where it's like, I can play for the playoffs. I can play up into the Super Bowl because week 1 to the Super Bowl, I know I'm going to have maybe you don't know the set amount, but you have like a certain strategy. Like that's
I basically know the set amount. Like
right.
I've done a lot of my own financial shit myself my whole life. So, like, that was just one thing that I knew. Like, how do I put it? Like, my brother played poker a lot. So, like, I've been to casinos. I've seen that. Like, that's like the one thing I knew. It's like, if you're smart with your money and you're not betting beyond your means, then like everything does get easier. There's a lot of stress off you knowing that you don't need to keep betting. Like, I have my plan set in place. So I always budget it out for everything. Like right now I'm trying to, like, I am hoping for since I didn't have a great NFL season, I'm hoping for a better NBA season. Otherwise, I think I will be taking MLB off so that I have the bankroll for NFL next year.
Yeah. And for me, everything now from here on out is profit. Like, that's what I'm working with. I have never put anything into it. So
right. But you started with just the free contest, but
exactly. So, and I'm up 50. So
yeah, and like outside of the free contest that I know there will be in like MLB, I'm probably not going to play it.
I won't play any MLB probably because
barring me getting like I could hit something here in NBA and be like, okay, so now I can set aside a couple hundred for that whole season. But like, I don't have the means to do that right now. I'm basically set through NBA, and that's it until I hit something.
Yeah. See, my friend is really into baseball, so like, I follow baseball to keep up with him casually, like as a social experiment kind of thing. So like, I'll play baseball here and there, but I'm not in the streets. I won't be doing a podcast daily or even weekly on that. Evan, any kind of like bankroll management, or even maybe something you admired from what we've done with our bankroll management or like our growth, like anything like that you could give to the people? Like,
nothing. I have nothing to add for that.
No, that's fair. I just wanted to hit on it because, like, people, you'll hear people say, well, like, have bankroll management or don't bet more than you can lose. But then, like, that's why I want to get it out today because, like, I know for the big game or the Super Bowl, then that's when you get all your fun props.
Now we're sued. Thanks, Logan.
Yeah, well, luckily we're not big enough yet. But that's when you get, like, the Gatorade bets and the Anthem bets, and then people get carried away. And so I just want to get this message out, like, have fun with the Super Bowl. Continue to have fun during the playoffs because these are the best matchups. But still, you gotta have that.
You're gonna do well on the big game, okay? The big game,
right?
Yeah. Well, that is interesting though, because I guess for Evan, he didn't really have to when he did fantasy football. He didn't have to worry about bankroll management because he decided what he was investing early on in the year, and he didn't look at it again until he, if he had profit.
I see. It's almost like you're right.
Half season long paid league. Yeah. It's a little different, but like he still had to like, how many leagues am I willing to play this year? It's not just, sometimes it's not just time to draft the leagues. It's money to play in. Like I definitely could have been in more. I just didn't want to be in every $20, $30 season long league with everyone I know.
Yeah, and me personally, I just prefer to be in leagues with people like I know in real life, like friends, family, coworkers.
Right.
Like I just like to keep it, traditional and wholesome. I'm not into like any of the hardcore, we call them season long now, but I break them down specifically. Redraft, Dynasty, Keeper. Like I don't get involved in the hardcore money leagues with people that I've never met before and probably never will meet.
That's fair.
I honestly think that's the transition back to football. I think that's why I do so well in the playoffs is these condensed slates. It's because I find a lot of people will chase kind of like the big dream or this like unknown guy in this like dynasty kind of format this late in the year. Everywhere it's like, 49ers and, there's only so many teams left. So let's just say the 49ers, you're a big 49ers fan. You were like, I'm going to go play Ronnie Bell, because there's not many guys left. So I'm going to play the guy that I hope is good next year. Like, I think we see a lot of that. Or just guys being like, I'm going to get together with my friends. We're all Buffalo fans. I'm 100% playing Josh Allen. And not saying Josh Allen's a bad play, but like when you decide you're 100% of your guy, I just think that's the wrong way to build for a playoffs. Funny enough, we kind of did 100% Deebo Samuel this week, but I thought that fit all of our structures. Now it didn't pan out. And in a way, I actually really did think that I'm like, well, at least it kind of happened to us so we can have that discussion, because I felt like we ran very well with best ball. We had a lot of good like dynasty kind of young guys investments this year, and we looked really smart. So having that one Debo kind of off-fire this week, I'm like, this would be a good talking point. And I brought it up to go. I don't think Debo was a bad play at all. I actually think Debo was still one of the better plays because he played very limited and still got 5 points.
Yeah, he didn't make it out of the first quarter, did he?
No, he did not.
And he left the game twice.
Right.
He left the game, came back in for like one play, and then left again. Yep.
Yeah. But, I mean, you could tell by the way it looked, the game plan was for it to be a Debo game. With
they wanted to run the ball. Like, you could tell, like, they didn't do a lot of motion and stuff the rest of the game. Yeah. They didn't do a lot of, like, east-west kind of stuff.
And when they did motion, it was like McCaffrey had that weird formation where he motioned out all the way to the left side of the field.
Yeah.
And it opens up that short slant or drag route, which would have been Debo's spot.
This is the lineup that would have cashed. I'm almost 100% positive on it with the Debo thing. But that's where, like, I think I mentioned it. It might have been the week you were off, Donnie, where we were talking. And I was like, I don't mind being wrong, knowing that, like, I'm going to take a chance on a guy like Cook, who did get 8 carries, but it allows me to jam in the star players. And it just so happened this lineup, the star player got hurt. Debo got hurt because you're jamming in the consistency. And I think if we even get a moderate game from Debo, which is like a 20-point game, this lineup cash is easy. We only missed the cash line by like 5 points.
Yeah. Well, we had a couple of plays that just didn't work out. Dalvin Cook didn't work out, and the Chiefs' defense didn't work out, and that's what killed us.
The Chiefs' defense shocked me.
That's true. But like Logan was saying earlier, we looked at it. The top scoring defense only had 8 points.
Yeah.
So I believe that. Yeah, there wasn't much difference. It was basically that's the cheapest defense that got 1 point was actually the best defense to have,
and
because you can make up that salary elsewhere.
I felt like there was 8 points.
Yeah. I felt like there was a lot of good defensive plays this week too, and the defense just didn't get high fantasy games.
I love it when a guy fails, but his team looks really good the next week, and then he advances. Like Zay Flowers could be a great play next week because people, especially you mentioned it, Donnie, on small slates, people have a tendency to hyper focus on these small slates, and they're going to hyper focus, especially on mistakes or snowflakes. Zay Flowers could be one to go back to. We might have made a mistake there because he only got, I think, 8 points and played like triple the amount of time that Debo did.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, I was still leaning one of the not that they worked either, but I was leaning one of the cheaper Baltimore receivers just because I don't specifically trust anyone to take all those targets, so I just lean the cheaper end of it.
In my lineups, I ended up leaning more the Kansas City cheap receivers. Like I played a lot of Watson, a lot of NVS.
No, that's what I mean though. Like I wouldn't play Rashi. I would go the cheaper guys on that team. Just like I wouldn't play Flowers. I would go with Odell. That kind of thing.
And I'm not saying like, oh, Debo would have got 20, we're guaranteed to get 20. Like, I'm not doing it so I can like victory lap because obviously the money's like I'm in this game to make profit. Like, trust when I say it, I'm hoping to give an audience, some kind of like something to watch. Hopefully we give you some strategy, some advice. But ultimately, we're all trying to make a dollar here, whether it be talking to my friends and getting a good lineup, giving you guys, a good lineup, having a community eventually where we get good comments. Like, we're all trying to make profit. So I made profit this week with enough profits of it's not like getting the Debo thing. It's just we were so close, and you're not always going to be this close. And that's where it's like, oh, we had so much good in this lineup.
Yeah, to get Lamar and fail, that one stings.
Right, because he's expensive.
We didn't expect the Ravens to go to beat the crap out of the Texans 34-10, which is why they didn't have to throw the ball to Zay much.
This lineup kind of said we did, though.
I mean, to be fair, Lamar won doing what he does best. He ran the ball and just threw it when he needed to.
Yeah, no, that game plan for Lamar was perfect. Lamar played pretty much the best Lamar game you could ask for. as in like he got the rushing perfect. I mean, his
Yeah.
100-yard bonus is complete, not luck, I don't want to say, but he was maybe half a yard away from not having it.
He still threw 2
He was
passing
getting all the
touchdowns.
attempts.
We
Yeah,
just-
no, he was efficient
Yeah.
throwing the ball. Very efficient for his low volume.
And that's what all you can ask for a quarterback. Like, he did all it took to win. And when it was 10-10 at halftime, Lamar did not panic. He kept with the game plan. He trusted his team was more talented, and that's what happened.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And, it just didn't work out where Zay Flowers just didn't benefit the most from either of his passing touchdowns or passing yards.
See, and that's where I look at a lineup like this, though, and I'm like, we built it for exactly what we wanted. If you showed me this lineup without the results, I would have said, we're planning on Baltimore blowing out the Texans. That happened. That's why we got such a high score from Lamar Jackson.
In this lineup, can we honestly say that any of these pieces were wrong to play?
I was arguing that, like, Cook probably was just because of the high uncertainty. Like, not only did he have a high touch uncertainty, he definitely was almost non-existent in his touchdown upside. And we see that, like, Lamar stole the touchdowns that we kind of thought Gus might get, or they had been giving to Justice Hill, and maybe Dalvin Cook gets this one. So, like, but he still did get okay volume. But again, that Baltimore backfield is, like,
but he looked
extremely muddled.
When Dalvin Cook touched the ball, he did look good, in my opinion. Like,
he looked okay.
Yeah,
He didn't look anything special.
He didn't look special, but
I didn't see any reason why you would need to run him over Justice Hill or Gus Edwards, but he's good backup to them in the playoffs.
See, I kind of had a similar perspective as you did, Donnie. It's like, well, he was so low, we didn't expect much, and he still got 8 carries. For that price, that's all we really wanted. We just wanted him to outscore Edwards, or like be within Edwards' range is what I was hoping for. And Edwards only got like 5 points. So Delvin getting almost 3.
Honestly, I didn't see Justice Hill coming out of there and being the guy for the game. That shocked me.
That was a one-off for a guy like a Justice Hill who has been historically just below average as a running back in this committee. We know going in when we play a Ravens running back that this has been a full-blown running back by committee for years. And you just pick one for whatever price you want and hope for the best.
Right. And that's basically what Dalvin ended up being. He's like, that is a roulette value play. And thinking back on it, there were so many of those cheaper than 4K at wide receiver. It wasn't necessary to do it at running back on a short slate.
That's where
normally I love finding the cheap running back that can do that on a larger slate, but especially in these playoff slates, the chalkier running backs are hitting. Like the guys who actually get the volume. There's only like when there's only 4 teams, there could legitimately be, and one of them's Baltimore. That means there's only 3 running backs that actually get good volume that you can choose from.
4 if you count Lamar.
When we
yeah. I'll count him as a running back a lot sooner than I'll count him as... We'll stop.
I had to do it. I had to say it.
No, you're good. I've been holding back I've been holding back what I want to say with his efficient passing. Can't throw with shit.
When we built this lineup, and I remember it was my idea in the episode to put in Dalvin Cook, because we had been kind of teasing the idea of trying the unknown running back and the brand new offense for him, thinking, well, let's take a shot on a guy like him.
And to be fair, they gave him 8 carries, so it's not even like the worst play. But it's not like it was the worst play, but it was probably the worst play in this lineup.
We just didn't know what he would get too. That's the other thing.
But I know you
I agree with Logan. The concept of, well, we went Lamar running back and a pass catcher, expecting a Baltimore blow-up game and hoping we get as many of the points as possible. Just so happened all those points went through Lamar and Likely and no one else.
And if you're gonna get a blow-up game,
you could have easily been Lamar and Flowers and no one else.
Well, you kind of want
Flowers has the
Likely
17.
Barely
Flowers has the 17 points that Likely had.
Right.
We cash, and it doesn't matter about Dalvin Cook and his 4 points.
Well, I mean, it just makes sense too, because we're playing at Lamar Jackson will put up a lot of points. He'll have a pass catcher. That could have been Flowers.
God, I wish we could have played 3 tight ends last week.
And then we don't have a Texans bring back, so we're saying it's a blowout. And so then Cook gets late late garbage time runs. So that, I mean, the lineup made sense.
No, yeah, it definitely made sense. Like
The thing,
we got unlucky in where the touchdowns went because there weren't that many to go around in Baltimore, and we got unlucky with an injury. That'll happen, and you can't you have to be able to move on from injury.
Like this could have been easily our lineup, 160 if we get a normal Debo game.
you know,
Yeah, if Debo gets you to 20, 25.
Can we see
Yeah.
the top lineup and who they played?
Sure.
Yeah, what won this tournament?
you know, the
Pretty
thing
sure it
is,
was a
though,
naked Lamar.
It
Naked
was
Lamar.
Naked Lamar double tight end.
See, I love double tight end this playoffs, especially.
That's where
But-
you can get a lot of good value. If you can find like this one, they had K. Dotton. If you can find a cheap one that does well, knowing that you have Kelsey's and Kittles
That's
and
what got
that
me
are
there.
good.
That's what got me there Sunday.
Okay, so
Double
I know
tight end
Josh
K-Dot?
Reynolds was super duper cheap. How the fuck was he that chalky for that
Mm.
price?
Oh, he was the guy everyone
Yeah.
him and JMO were the two they were the two cheap wide
Well, and
receivers
Shakir.
that every optimizer was pulling in. And
JMO,
then here.
yeah, JMO
Like,
gets
those
more.
were the three cheap chalky, which is why I decided in my lineups to play guys like Watson and MVS.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I was going to pick my battles. I'm going to pay up for the
Shakira,
same
Shakira.
guys. I'm going to pay up at running back for McCaffrey and all those guys and Monty and Gibbs. And I'll just cycle through all the cheap dudes to go around Debo and that. Or Evans in my lineup. Like, I basically had McCaffrey, another decent running back, and then either Evans or Debo in every lineup that I built.
So it seems like this particular lineup made all the sense in the world, and then he took or I don't know if it's a he, they took a shot on a Josh Reynolds who may have just gotten those 2 catches for 27 yards and take away the 6 points. That would have been 4.7 points. That
Yeah,
could have been a dud.
If you take away the touchdown, Jameson Williams outscores Josh Reynolds.
How much did JMO have?
5.6, I think.
Okay, yeah, so just barely outscoring Reynolds if you take away that touchdown for sure.
Right, but I'm
Which is
saying
what you expect out of both anyway.
Right.
where I would tell you that Williams will get more. He'll get more shots and he'll get more attempts to like catch the ball for like big plays. But in the red zone, Jared will look for Reynolds in the touchdown green zone area. Like he uses Reynolds basically like a tight end.
Yeah, he loves Reynolds since the Rams days.
But for big yardage, big play opportunity, he looks at Williams.
Well,
So-
yeah, Williams is the deep threat guy who,
Right.
I mean, but,
He's the more gadget utility guy anyway. Like,
yeah, and I don't like
Reynolds
playing
is
those in
just
any
like the
fantasy
old
format.
vet with the soft hands. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just say it's kind of like to use a different team, so it doesn't seem like I'm cherry picking here. It'd be like playing Kate Otten or Trey Palmer. Like
Wait, on what do you mean?
they're both cheap and relatively around the same price. But Kate Otten, you're hoping for that touchdown. You think like, okay, he's going to have more of the touchdown, where Palmer's going to have more of the deep bomb chance for a touchdown.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, Donnie.
well, I was gonna just say it's completely off topic. Since earlier Gov said, he wished he could have played 3 tight ends last week. Now that you're saying it, what if we just took, instead of 3 wide receivers, had 2 flex spots? I feel like that'd be so much more fun. Give you so much more diversity in lineups.
That's what I do in all my fantasy leagues anyway. I hate 3 wide receivers.
They have super flex.
They have super
Do
flex.
they?
Yeah.
Is
you
it
get-
is it better than is it less?
Problem is super
So they
flex.
get rid of the defense and they give you a super
Yeah,
flex.
see, I wouldn't want. The defense to me is the one of the fun parts. So
Yeah, but instead you get a so they get rid of the defense and 1 wide receiver slot.
Mm.
They give you a super flex.
But you can play
Super
quarterback.
flex can be anything, incling a quarterback.
yeah. See,
9
if
times
you
out
wanna
of
run
10, you're
through-
going to play a quarterback, though.
Yeah,
right?
for the floor, especially
Yeah,
last
that's-
game, the floor,
Mhm.
you're playing 2 quarterbacks.
So it
Now
might
I
as well
could
be a
definitely see
two-quarterback league.
upside of using that as your 3rd wide receiver in the right stack or whatever.
By the way, what I have it all reserved because, like I said, we got so many crowns last week. It wasn't a problem to reserve. So, but I was going to leave it up to you guys. We'll build it a bit later this week. But what lineup or what kind of construction were you hoping to build this week?
a showdown for each, and then a regular.
Do you
Yeah,
want showdown for each?
So we really only need 1 lineup for
Yeah,
Classic.
1 lineup and
Yeah,
then a
1
showdown for
classic
each.
and then a showdown for each.
What-
One
what-
2-gamer, and then if we can build at least 1 showdown, yeah.
I got them reserved just like that because that's what I thought you guys would want to do.
Perfect.
That's what I think would be the best.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to play in personal as well.
We all have to hope for the Niners to win so I can get a Kyle Juszczyk captain for the Super Bowl.
No. But if the Lions win, you could captain Zach Ertz.
I'd vote for a Zach Ertz captain.
Dan says he's playing, so
I'll play him this week and see.
actually, I think Dan's words were he will be involved in some way.
Watch Ertz score like 3 touchdowns on the Niners, which no one would expect.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm playing him just because I'm playing him at 18. What does it hurt? What does it hurt to play him at 18?
He is in my showdown.
MVS it is. Heard. Okay. Yeah.
He is in my showdown line. Is that good?
Yeah, no, I know it's like a captain or anything, but still.
To Gov's point though, is when running back, maybe you are right, because when running back is minimum price at 4K, maybe we would have been better off taking a punt at even a 3K tight end or a 3K wide receiver, more so just so we could pay up for the certainty.
Did Lamar have the best rushing game of the weekend?
No, I think Christian McCaffrey beat him slightly.
How many yards did McCaffrey have?
That's a good question.
No. Lamar had more rush yards.
Yeah.
Oh my
McCaffrey
God.
finished just outside the bonus, I believe.
Yeah, 98 yards.
98 yards.
Lamar had the most rush yards this weekend.
No, it was Aaron Jones.
Wasn't it? Oh yeah, Aaron Jones. I
Yeah, it
forgot
was
that
Aaron
guy.
Jones.
That's who I played, by the way. I was high in Aaron Jones.
Mike Evans.
I had a lot of Pacheco and a lot of Gibbs to go with my McCaffrey.
I was winning it up until Christian McCaffrey had that kind of comeback, because he had, I think,
Because he's a
60 yards.
freaking monster, and McCaffrey will get them to the Super
While
Bowl.
we're reviewing, and we haven't talked much about this game, the Bills reverted back to what they were at the start of the year. It seemed like they just forced Allen to do everything and stopped giving the ball to Cook, stopped running the ball in general. That was so strange.
What else is new with the Buffalo Bills?
Well,
No, I know, but to be fair, it did work a little bit.
that was Justin's first game.
What they did was go to limit him. Like I wouldn't even say they used Josh Allen, because they basically didn't let him chuck it and use his weapons. Like, yes,
But
they
he's not really
put
good
it
at the
all
end
on
of the game.
Josh Allen. He did run a bunch in that game, but it was a lot of short passes, dink and dunk. Don't turn the ball over, Josh, kind of offense.
Well, you're playing one of the best defenses in the league.
Right, so like that may have been smart. Like you said, it did work out for a lot of the game. It's just the refs had it in for him, and Mahomes takes it in the fourth quarter. I don't know.
Now, I don't know if it's true. It might have just been, the internet memeing around. But I heard that on the fake punt play, the Chiefs only had 10 people on the field.
I don't know that exactly.
I don't know, but that would be quite embarrassing.
Yeah.
It'd be funny.
Here's what I do know is I think the Chiefs said, hey, Allen can go ahead and do what Allen wants to do. We're going to limit all the other big plays, and we're going to see if they can dunk. And what's funny is I think the Bills kind of wanted to do that, and it just kind of played into it.
I don't know why I'm patting on Rob's avatar here. I just, with my face covered, I'm like, let me.
I thought you had something.
No.
Yeah. But going back to Josh Allen a little bit, though, like, he had a few sexy long throws that one of them was just not caught by Diggs, which that's pretty peak Stephon Diggs so far this season with the Bills. There's no way he stays on the Bills next season, right?
I don't know.
Like, I think he's got to be gone soon. I think he's fed up with this team.
Mentally, I think he's been fed up with the team since last year. He gave it one more go, and then he was partially, he disappeared at the end of the year. Completely disappeared at the end of the season.
Yep.
Diggs says he has no interest in leaving the team specifically, but will be.
But he didn't say that he didn't have interest. Oh, Doc Rivers just got hired by the Bucks.
Did he?
Yep, officially.
Well,
they have to win the title or everything is dumb.
Well, sorry for the random NBA transition, everyone.
No, you're good. I'm literally watching NBA lineup. I'm so pissed at Aaron Gordon tonight. Don't even. You have such a good matchup against Indiana, and you want to shit the bed tonight.
It does kind of remind me, though, speaking of coaching, Andy Reid did kind of employ an NBA strategy where he was like, you know what? There's a star player, Josh Allen. We're just going to let him run all up and down the court. He can do his thing. We're just going to limit the whole rest of the team. And they own time of possession. The Bills had the ball so much, but I think the Chiefs just thought, hey, if we just limit their big plays and we force them to move the ball down the field, we'll win this game this way. And it was impressive. I don't like. I don't know why McDermott still has the job. Honestly, speaking of coaching, that would be a good transition.
Yeah, I wonder if he does get fired because I do think it's interesting Belichick hasn't chosen a spot yet, and maybe he was waiting to see if Philly fired their guy, Dallas fires their guy, or maybe even the Bills. But man, you gotta cut ties at this point. I think. How does it? I don't know if the team buys into him anymore after you've been just honestly outclassed by Kansas City 3 times in a row.
When you're to the point that you're handing the ball off on a fake punt to DeMar Hamlin, it's time to go.
That's
The guy's a safety for crying out loud.
Yeah.
That was
to be
bad.
fair though, like Buffalo actually has a good record against them in the regular season. This is just like the Brady Manning thing. It's like, in the regular season he looks good, but then you can't beat him in the playoffs. It's like,
and it's not even Josh's fault though. Like Josh has had very good games,
great
against
games against.
Honestly, it's been mostly great games in the playoffs against Kansas City, and they just,
Kansas City's
to
just
be fair,
there.
Sean McDermott is known as a defensive head coach.
He was a defensive coordinator. He was never an offensive guy. I remember him in Carolina. He was never an offensive-minded guy.
So at what point do you say you're here to stop a guy like Mahomes? Allen's doing his part.
I'd like to point out with Josh Allen that in the postseason, 68.1% completion percentage, 389 yards, 4 touchdown passes, and a 101.7 quarterback rating. I think that might be ESPN's quarterback rating, but nevertheless, he's been playing well in the postseason. So he gets a lot of shit on the Buffalo Bills for, he's so turnover prone. But is anybody going to look at coaching and
the core of their offense? Like he's had years where he's been where he's been okay with Dayball. Like we know that he is a good quarterback, and like that's the problem. Is like everyone's giving him all the flaws and all of the shit for everything. But like you point out, like he's been really good. He is not the reason they have lost to Kansas City in the playoffs.
100%.
He is definitely the reason they beat them in the regular season. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's definitely the reason they win in the regular season, but he's not the reason they lose in the playoffs.
Well,
but I can't blame it on the run. Like, I want to blame it on the run game, but then there are all these games they don't run the ball. So why won't you run the ball? Is it the offensive line? Like, is that the real key? Is like Buffalo for years, no one's pointed out that they probably the metrics are lying and they actually have the worst offensive line in the league. It's just Josh Allen bails them out every fucking time.
Yes.
Well,
like it's worse than the Bears, or Justin Fields is just not Josh Allen. I don't know, either one, both.
Well, the Bears' offensive line's not horrendous like it used to be, but when you stick Cody Whitehair in there, it's horrendous.
That's what I'm saying. Like some of these really good, like the actual really good quarterbacks can hide a bad offensive line.
I mean, Tom Brady basically did that with Tampa.
Exactly. Like a lot of the really, really good nuanced quarterbacks can hide a bad offensive line.
Well,
I think Josh has been doing that since year one.
Yeah, all throughout New England, though, Brady was sitting there, and it always looked like he had one of the best offensive lines in the league, and he probably did have a very good offensive line most of the time.
There were flashes. There were flashes.
2.5 seconds. Yeah,
that's the thing, because Brady was real quick because he knew that's how to keep things efficient. Like defenses are hard to do to react and do stuff unless they anticipate what you're doing in 2.5 seconds.
Yeah,
but there were plenty of times, like in New England for years, where Brady would have time to throw to nobody, and it was clear. It's like, okay, the offensive line is solid, if nothing else. Brady has, yes, he's 2.5 seconds to keep the offense moving and functioning. But there's plenty of times he has 4 or 5 seconds, and there's no one to throw to.
Yeah, and people really, the general public anyway, doesn't realize the difference between 2.5 seconds and 3 seconds in the NFL. That's
they really
major. It's astronomical.
Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing I got to see with Tua, because before Mike McDaniels got there, Tua has had a quick arm, but is he the kind of guy who can hide a bad offensive line? I don't know. Like, that's the one thing where I'm not sure if that's Tua or McDaniels. It could be Tua. Tua did go to Alabama. He would know what a good offensive line is supposed to be and know how to hide a bad one. Like, that's one thing I kind of figured Mac Jones would know. It seems like that might be the only thing he knows.
Well, the thing is, you can't hide a bad offensive line and a bad wide receiver core at the same time. It's not possible.
It is if the quarterback's good enough.
You'd have to be a special athlete on top of being a good quarterback.
I think Kansas City's like a year away from that. Like, if Rashee Rice wasn't there, they would basically be that, because their offensive line's not perfect this year.
Oh,
but
no,
their defense is stellar, and Mahomes is stellar.
Not only is Mahomes stellar as a quarterback, he's a stellar athlete on top of it. He got
to learn from one of the best game managers in the league. So, like, he has this basis of being really good at all these nuanced spots, and then you add his athleticism. That's kind of the reason why Mahomes is really good. Allen has a lot of that, but he never got any of that nuance. Like, his nuanced learning early came from Sean McDermott.
That's what I mean. So, just talking about nuance and being able to transition and, like, getting comfortable. I'm going to shout you out, Gov. Gov's been having great streams over on Twitch. His Twitch channel will be in the description. And this week, though, you streamed the live Discord channel we had for further DFS discussion in our community. And Hustle, who joined us tonight, was basically saying, like, he always likes to show love for his people. You know, he shows up for his community. We all gather. You know, that's one of the reasons I like to have Donnie, Evan, and Gov on. It isn't just to give to you guys. I'm selfish. Like, this is DFS therapy for me. It helps me build a lineup. It helps me engage in ways I want to build. And when you have that camaraderie, when you have that belief that your team is behind you, you do better. It's just true. And whether it's the 9/11 comments, which you could say, like, oh, that's political, and of course he's doing bad, so that stuff's going to leak. But when stuff starts to leak, that just speaks to you losing control, right? Because if people have your back, those stories get swept under the rug. They don't even get out, you know?
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up too, Logan, that if you go to Twitter right now and you punch in Sean McDermott's name, Sean McDermott terrorist is the second thing that comes up. It's a meme on Twitter at this point.
Which is preposterous. And I mean, like, he might not be the greatest guy, but the reason that's out there is because he's been a bad guy, so people will look for reason to blame you when your team's not performing. It's almost like when you have when you're around respected people or people that know you or like you, they're going to defend you. But the more and more you show that you cannot do your job or you lose the locker room, little stuff starts to add up. You know, Diggs gets angry. He's not defending his coaches anymore. And then it's like, well, the reason McDermott is not a good coach is because he's not an offensive guy. And to Gov's point, he was never an offensive guy. But that's the thing is, when you can't even do what you're supposed to do, which is stop Mahomes and be this defensive mastermind, then people are going to start poking holes. You know, they're going to start poking the widest holes, which is your inefficiencies already.
Well, and I don't even exactly think it's fair to say, well, you can't stop Mahomes, because let's be honest, even when the team was right, Belichick really couldn't stop Josh Allen. There are just some guys who get past certain schemes and it's tough to stop. And it doesn't make them a bad coach, but to the point of where you've lost your locker room now, it is time, at least for Buffalo, for him to be done, I think.
Right. And we see this in DFS, Gov, is like some weeks, like I've had weeks where it's like, I'm a really good DFS player and I'm contrarian and I do things that are a bit wacky, like to the point where people probably wouldn't understand. But there are weeks where I can go on a run where it's like, oh, the roller coaster is not, we're not pumping out gas right now. We need to slow down. We need to tone it down. We need to, rethink our strategy. or just stop playing. There are times where it's like, I want to keep playing basketball because I think my process is good. It's just not working. And so it's okay to take a couple of weeks off and reevaluate. And sometimes as a coach, you need to do that as well.
Well, and there's honestly a clear path back to a head coaching job if he does get fired this year. Go take the Eagles defensive coordinator job because I'm sure it's open.
Yeah,
that's your path.
Did they finally hire an OC to replace the guy they just fired?
No, they just interviewed Cliff Kingsbury.
Oh,
honestly, like Ron Rivera is the opposite of what I think you should do. I think Ron Rivera would have been in such a better spot had he taken some time off, had he recharged the batteries, but he just charged right back in.
Well, Doug Peterson did it, remember? And look at him now. He missed the playoffs this year, but I think we all have come to at least respect that Doug Peterson is a coach that can win football games.
And I think, but that's where you got to know yourself, Donnie. You got to know, am I a guy who can bounce back quickly and learn, or am I a guy that needs to take time off? I'm very emotional as a player, so if I'm on a bad streak, I need to step away.
I just feel like this Jaguar team was just a bad fit for Doug Peterson's coaching style. I just don't think this team as a whole unit is compatible enough with the way he wants to win games. Because this isn't the fucking Eagles here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence being disappointing also isn't great, but
is he a bust?
Jacksonville's going to Jacksonville.
No, you can't call him a bust. He's
Trevor
still
Lawrence?
on his rookie deal.
Oh, it depends.
He's still on his rookie deal, and if his contract was up, he would get a re-sign.
Okay,
that's how I feel.
It depends to me. When you say is he a bust, is he ever going to be an elite top 5 quarterback? I'm pretty sure he's proven no. I'm definitive in saying no, he's not that. So when you took him as high as he was, if that's what you're expecting to have that level of quarterback to build around, he's a bust. Is he still going to be a starting level quarterback in the league? Yes. You see what Detroit's doing with Jared Goff. He's probably better than Jared Goff.
Probably.
So you can definitely do something with him, but you're not going to be able to build a team around him like he's Mahomes or Allen or Lamar or even Burrow.
Yeah, which is fine.
I think people need to start getting that in their head. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert. Good quarterbacks. Not top elite quarterbacks.
I want to see
just
Herbert
very
with
good
a
quarterback
coach that is actually good. To be fair, I'm giving Herbert one more coach.
When the offensive line isn't horrible and you have weapons, I don't blame the coach. I put that on the quarterback.
Okay, that's fair, but I want to give.
And that's what Jacksonville and the Chargers have had. They haven't had the worst offensive lines over the course of these rookie deals for these kids. Not great, not like Eagles, but the Bears and that have had some pretty bad offensive lines for Justin Fields.
Yeah,
Herbert hasn't had that, and then Herbert's also had better weapons than Fields.
Justin Herbert, at the same time, has had quite the revolving door of bad coaches and bad offensive coordinators. He started with Anthony Lynn, who has been shuffling around other teams, and then who was the Charger coach they just let go?
Brandon Staley, the head coach.
Yeah,
but they still have Kellen Moore, the OC from Dallas. And he was the offense looked fine this year. They just kept, the defense was a sieve. Herbert needed to score 30 every game to win. Any game they lost, it's because they didn't score 30 points.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make excuses for Justin Herbert, but he did have that finger issue the whole second half of the season.
But that's the thing.
When it's
the defense's fault and I can see the offensive pieces being there, I can put more onus on the quarterback. It's okay.
I feel like Justin Herbert is in a Dan Marino situation. His offense is good, but his defense cannot stop anybody.
I 100% agree that.
Well, and I just want to say
that's why Belichick or Harbaugh would probably be the best there because they would go in and turn around the defense.
Well, I guess Harbaugh's leading for the Chargers job, but
I was gonna say I thought he was almost signed by now. I was expecting the pen to be put on paper today.
He essentially is. So they came back and said, "We have no problem with you being head coach," according to what I had heard from my Michigan roots, essentially. And he came back and said, "Okay, you guys met my financial offerings or what he expected financially. Now he says that he's okay with it. He'll make the move. He'll make it official tomorrow. But he needs his defensive coordinator from Michigan and his son to be hired with the Chargers staff. So he's basically saying, like, you got to give me permission to hire my defensive coordinator.
Well, that's fine. The son thing to me is a little weird, but also Belichick had his sons around, and as long as they know football, which I'm sure
apparently the
family does, I'm sure he'll be fine and he belongs in the building.
Apparently the defensive coordinator that Jim likes, he always coaches with his son, and they've never coached apart, and apparently that's like a deal breaker for him.
I just hope his sons aren't anything like Steven Belichick, just looking like he's on drugs the whole game.
No, see, that's the thing. Steve Belichick actually knows football, though. Don't be so harsh on the guy.
Yeah, but he's a great.
He can't help that his dad's Bill Belichick. Here's the thing. He can't help that his dad's Bill Belichick and doesn't know how to dress.
Can't he, though?
Hey, we just turned on our cameras. I don't know if we're the people that should be judging the book by its cover, but...
Don't we, though?
I was gonna make Steven Belichick faces in the camera, but I don't want to scare away our viewers, so I'll refrain from that.
That is a good point, though. We all have our own biases, and like, but we have biases for a reason. Like, Donnie's not wrong for wanting Justin Herbert to be good. I'm pretty sure the reason you want to give him another year is you want to see him be good. Like, there are plenty of players I want to see good that maybe never will be.
Well, and my thing with Trevor Lawrence too is let's be honest. If not for being hurt for the last month of the season, he's probably in the playoffs this year. And I do think there is something to go with that on Trevor Lawrence. Like, he really was badly banged up going into finishing the season. There was a solid chance he would have made it the playoffs.
Can I go back to Justin Herbert for just a second? When did we start accepting that Herbert is not a good quarterback anymore? I know he had a bad season and he got hurt, but he's proven that he is elite caliber.
I think
he's proven that he's solid. I don't think he's proven. Yeah, I haven't seen elite.
Yeah, I haven't seen elite either. But
I have to take into account the fact that he's not behind the worst offensive line, and he has good, if not really good, weapons around him. Like, I'm sorry, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler, when healthy, is one of the best set of weapons you can have in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, that not many quarterbacks have that.
But they're never healthy.
And yet they are still solid, just like Herbert.
Herbert has a lot of problems. Week 3, they're not healthy.
Hold on one second, though, guys. 2021, 5,014 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, which is not great. And he doesn't have to run with the ball too much, but he threw for 5,000 yards that season.
Yeah, that was his rookie year, wasn't it?
Second year, sophomore year.
Second, right. That's the kind of jump forward we would have thought you had in like your third year. So like everyone I feel like everyone is ahead from what Herbert should be. And he might still be able to prove me wrong, but from what I've seen, like, I don't think he's that much different than Trevor Lawrence. And I don't put them in the elite category. I put him in that next tier down. You can win a Super Bowl, but I can't make you the highest paid quarterback and still win that Super Bowl.
Well,
I need talent around you.
My thing is, with Herbert, the one person I'm definitely not sold on and I think should be fired and doesn't get enough criticism is Kellen Moore. Like, Dak was very turnover prone under him. Herbert, you could argue, has had one of his worst years now under him. I don't think Kellen Moore is as good as we all hyped up.
Herbert didn't turn the ball over much, though.
And that's the thing. And to be fair, and I think it'll come out in the offseason here from what I've seen, Kellen Moore didn't get to run the full style of offense that, like what got him the job was the offense he ran in Dallas. Okay. He was the offensive coordinator in Dallas when Dak had one of his big years last year. That's what got him the job for the Chargers. In that time, that was when Dalton Schultz had his big year. That's when they were running the 2 tight end, a whole bunch of stuff like that in Dallas. They had multiple running backs running it. Okay, Pollard and Zeke. Like, they were doing a lot of stuff there, and the offense was really dynamic. You bring him to the Chargers, which has all these weapons, but he didn't run that same style. Like, you didn't see Everett. Like, you thought you were going to see Everett and Parham and a bunch of that. And it looked like he kind of wanted to run that, but he never really got to run the offense he ran in Dallas.
Now,
And I don't know if that's because of Staley. I don't know if that's because he's not as good of an offensive coordinator as he thought he was, if he was trying to do something tricksy. Like, maybe the stuff that was going on in Dallas, like we saw this year, was more of just Dallas Mike McCarthy stuff, and that wasn't Kellen Moore. Like, who knows?
Yeah,
more will be put into that in this offseason. But I'm not ready to just heap it on Kellen Moore, considering
I'm more ready to heap it on Kellen Moore
this
than I am
offense
Justin
that
Herbert.
still put up numbers didn't look like Dallas from last year. It didn't look like Herbert was going to be the new Dak in this offense. Now, maybe they were missing pieces. Like, maybe they really wanted to grab Dalton Schultz in the offseason. Who knows?
Yeah, I have to agree
Everett
with
was
Doug
never
here.
healthy. So, like,
Well,
Yep.
and that's the thing. Like, if that's the story you're going with, he wasn't able to run his offense and everything. That's fine.
Mhm.
But
that's
I'm
not what we'll
more
see in the offseason.
off
I'm
the
not sure
Kellen
on
Moore
that.
bandwagon than I'm off the Herbert bandwagon.
okay, I can see that. And I kind of like, I would still be willing to give them both another year. Like, I personally think, like, having continuity in your offensive coordinator is extremely helpful. Like, if you want a quarterback to have continuity and get better, there's 3 things I think they need to have the entire time. Same offensive coordinator, same center, same
Like a third down guy.
top pass catcher.
Yeah, third down guy. The guy you can rely on.
Same dude you like. Yeah. Like, Cam had that. He had Cleo Olsen, and like, for the first 4 years it was Shula, and then we switched.
Yeah.
But, like, he was able to for the first four years, he had same center, same top pass catcher.
Well, I mean,
And
you
same
saw it
and
with
same OC, and that allowed him to get a groove. Like, okay, so after a year or two at most, you now know your offense and you know your guys. Now it's just learning the ins and outs of the league.
It's
A
essential.
lot of quarterbacks don't get that time. They're set scrambling. They've got new
Mhm.
receivers to get timing with. They got a new OC that wants to run the offense differently. Like, a lot of quarterbacks get that problem.
And
And
the
like,
problem,
I would love to see Herbert with that, because I do think he is, like, while the team may have been ready for a good quarter, like, I think the Chargers team was actually ready and set, where if a good quarterback stepped in, they would be able to play well, and then the defense would, depending on the defense, the team could compete. But
I feel like what isn't talked about enough with this particular Charger team, the running game has been arguably the worst out of all the NFL teams this season, where Eckler just took
it was so disappointing.
Eckler's never been a great runner. He was always like that pass catching shifty back.
Yes.
He could run, but, like, he was never the guy, like, I want to give 20 carries up the middle. I'm not Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler.
No,
kind
of course not.
He's going to
he
get
doesn't
used like Alvin Kamara way more often than anything else.
Yeah, and we're seeing him just he took a colossal nosedive in his efficiency and everything with carries, and it got so bad to the point they had to play Joshua Kelly and Isaiah Spiller, who are not good NFL running backs at all, and that doesn't help Justin Herbert or even Kellen Moore for that matter in play calling.
Yeah, see, and I've always been of the mind. I still am. I don't care that there's been so many good ones. I would still not draft a running back in the first round. I think there's value.
No, I love the strategy of just drafting a running back in the late second, somewhere between the late second and the fourth, every other year, no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, but the Chargers, I would make an exception. With this roster, I would get rid of Eckler and make the exception.
Last year,
I might keep Eckler, but I do think, like, if they're going to get an offensive weapon this year, like, as much as you think it should be wide receiver, it only should be wide receiver because Keenan Allen and Mike Williams always seem to get hurt.
Or
if
because
one or both of them were just healthy, like, you could go out and get a wide receiver in free agency to add to that team, and then they still have Palmer in that. But, like, I do think, like, this year the smartest thing for the Chargers would be keep Kellen Moore, get a good defensive-minded head coach in there, and then draft an offensive lineman, a running back, and full-on defense.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yep.
Like, that's the smartest thing for them to do. And use your free agency to up all of those positions and maybe go get a good, like, solid
Yeah.
pass catching wide receiver.
And
Or
honestly,
if Kellen Moore wants to run the offense the way, go get him the tight end or something.
yeah, honestly, get him a fullback too. Like
But-
this
Well,
offense.
no. I mean, that might be old school. I don't know if he needs that.
I
I
still
think
think it's
Kellen Moore
helpful.
would rather run 2 tight end than he'd rather run a fullback.
I think
really
he'd
do.
like a fullback though.
I think like every team, he'd like a use check. You know, a guy who can just run fullback, or he can play tight end, or he can play slot receiver.
Well, I'm more so. Use check is an anomaly. I more so think of like a Patrick Ricard kind of guy.
Yeah, and I think they'd be better off getting like if they have Everett and Parham, they'd be better off getting like another like good big pass catching tight end.
But to Evan's point, to like put a bow on this, is like you guys all came up with really good discussion points and reasons why, and
how to rebuild the Chargers. Yeah,
interesting points. And Jeff Feinberg would love this podcast, by the way, big Chargers fan. But like to me, that's like the table of contents to both of either Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence's book. And the problem is, a lot of fans or a lot of pundits want to be like, I've already written the book on Justin Herbert. He sucks, or he's an elite quarterback. It's like that book's still being written on Justin Herbert. It's still being written on Trevor Lawrence. We're just adding more context as we go on throughout the years. I think to your larger point, Evan, you say, well, is he elite? Is he here? The problem, we all know Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence are talented, and that's why we're having this discussion. Even the people that don't think he's at the elite level.
We're not talking about Brock Purdy, Jared Goff here. No.
Right. But you're disappointed because he's not at that level. I don't know if he gets there, but the reason they're so polarizing is that contention. It's like you want them to be more. Like it's almost like Ryan Leaf. If all the offseason or all the off-field stuff didn't happen with Ryan Leaf, would he have been good? And it's like, well, now that book can be written because his career is over and we know some of the outside circumstances. And so like we have to let the whole book, kind of plan out before we can tell. It's the long game in football, and it's sometimes sad because by the time we find out, it's like, man, I wish, like as well as the Lions are doing right now, I'm just like, I wish Kelvin Johnson and Matthew Stafford could have some moment, but I'm like, wait a minute, they didn't earn this moment. St. Brown and Jared Goff earned this moment. I'm never going to be as big of a Jared Goff fan as I am Matthew Stafford, but I'm not putting Matthew Stafford on this team or thinking he deserves it. Jared Goff deserves it. So, like, at some point you can respect someone's talent, but realize, like, their time has passed or that moment in their career. So everyone goes back to, like, Justin Herbert's rookie year. It's like, no, he's got to develop now. Like, he was good. He earned his spot. Now we need to see more development. You need to see something else.
And he also said thank you to the Chargers doctors and Tyrod Taylor. Like we said, we'll look more into the Tyrod Taylor stuff maybe later on how every quarterback who's good seems to be.
Honestly, I would love to do more off-season like deep dive like this. I don't mind discussions like this.
Oh no, this is fun. That's fun, but I do think we are hitting our cap.
Yeah, to kind of wrap up though, to kind of bring it back full circle and get people prepared for championship weekend this upcoming weekend, we will come back and build a lineup show for you guys. What's the one thing that you guys are going to want to stick around for? Keep your finger on the pulse for any kind of news. Is it the Debo news? Is there a certain player you want to play? Is there a certain statistic you want to look at? What's kind of the one appetizing thing that you want to deep dive before you build the lineup this weekend?
I want to hear about Zach Ertz stuff.
He's the elephant in the room.
I need Zach Ertz.
I want to know.
Ertz is the one that everyone's going to be eyeing in on. I'm probably going to be looking at that AFC title game and trying to figure out the receivers. Like,
I think it's Bateman, dude.
I think it's Watson, dude. Like, I
think
again,
it's
I don't know,
dudes. Sorry.
So, no, I do think Mark Andrews, even Ertz, like the tight ends, the double tight end is interesting.
Oh, well, Mark Andrews, I have locked in everywhere, no matter what.
But I mean, like that double tight end, if we view tight ends as just receivers, to Ghost's point, like as receivers get more limited and you got to look for the best receiving options, we might go double tight end. One thing I'm kind of curious, because I have a biased perspective, is the Lions have been extraordinarily great against runners. So is this finally the week where it would make sense to fade Christian McCaffrey? We saw him at 66%. Are you guys buyers that the Lions shut people down? Because they shut down Kyron Williams. He got 8 points against the Lions.
Receiving wise for McCaffrey, I gotta imagine he's in the game plan, especially if Debo's out. If McCaffrey doesn't play well, I'm assuming that the Niners have lost the game. So
yeah, to that point though, Kyron Williams was very involved in the receiving game for the Rams, and that's the two things the Lions are elite at. They're elite at stopping the run and stopping specifically receiving running back. So it is interesting because it obviously is the thing that the 49ers will probably try to do.
Oh, no, it's a nightmare matchup for the Niners this week.
Right.
If
so
Debo does not play.
I feel like that's the pivotal point. You either believe Debo is the elite guy and the Lions have no chance, or you're like, hey, I'm going to fade Debo. I think that's the pivotal point. Do you play Debo or do you not?
Does he play?
Or not Debo, I mean CMC.
Oh, okay.
I think CMC is the biggest decision maker on the slate because of his salary, you basically are dictating how you're building that lineup. If you fade him, you have all this extra money. So what do you do with it? If you don't play him, it kind of limits your options.
All right. That's enough preview into next week, I think.
We'll talk more about that later this week when we build.
Yeah.
Evan's eyes were Roman. You got any last thing for the people, Evan? I think your eyes were scrolling across the screen. I thought maybe you had a great statistic or something.
Not off the top of my head, but
no.
I think I will say that I'm excited about these two matchups. I mean, when the Bears don't make the postseason, I usually check out, and I'm not as into the postseason as much as I like because it's like, my team's not in it, so whatever. But this has been a fucking oddball season going into this postseason where it's like, this is the first year we can have uncertainty about the Kansas City Chiefs in a long fucking time. And I'm here.
Do we though?
Nagy's there.
I mean, listen, man. Uncertainty. They're back where they were. No matter how you look at it, they're back where they were.
I think it was Donnie a couple of nights ago. We were in the Discord channel. You talked about that. There's so much parity in the NFL. I think that's what makes this playoffs really fascinating.
Yep.
That being said, though, I want to wrap up here, guys. Good night. Thanks for joining us again. Thanks to the people. We're evolving. We got our faces on here now. We got some production value. We got some chemistry. We are gaining subscribers slowly. So if you want to do us a favor, like and subscribe. Again, this is more for me than anyone else. But if you guys gain anything out of it, don't be afraid to leave a comment, a like. These type of things do go a long way. So thanks again, and we'll see you this weekend.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Take care.
Peace out, everyone.